up to the 53, and then signed Frank Heron to the practice squad. So kind of balances out everything as far as that's concerned from a roster standpoint. That being said, just, again, with regards to everybody else out there on the field, Mike Daniels will not be out there at practice again today. I know Danny's been out the last couple of days. He's going to go out and is feeling a little better, so we'll go see what that looks like here today as we go through everything else. So, like I said, he's a pretty tough kid, so he's going to do everything possible to just get himself ready to go. We're trying to be smart as far as that's concerned. Big day for us here today, just getting ready for the Chiefs and trying to obviously do a great job here in the red area. Some of the other situational installs that we have for today as far as that's concerned. But really difficult team to defend in the red area. They have a lot of weapons. They have a great package. Andy does a good job of scheming that all up and really giving their go-to guys a lot of different plays and putting them in really good positions to score. So that'll be a big challenge for us there. And then on the other side of the ball, a lot of pressure from the defensive line. Those guys do a great job of getting after the quarterback, stopping the run. Very aggressive down there. They'll blitz a little bit more too. So we got to just get all those looks here today, try to do the best we can with them and keep improving, get ready for the game. So it's just part of the process. It's a good week for us, trying to grind through to get better, and hopefully that all shows up here on Sunday as we get ready to go compete. So just another good work day for us. So.
Tom Kennedy, the past couple of weeks to give him this opportunity?
Yeah, one of the good things, for the guys on the field and why we do what we do, when we do our show teams or guys are, giving looks on the other side of the ball, and we've seen a couple good slot receivers, a couple good systems that we faced. He's done a really good job, obviously, going against our first defense and man coverage work and getting open on the routes and understanding the concepts of what we're doing, and then being able to mix in with our offense and some of the other competitive periods that we do. We do quite a few competitive periods, offense, defense, through the course of practice, just to always kind of gauge where players are at. And may not be exactly what you're going to do that week as far as the look, but, the more competitive the reps, we always feel is valuable from that standpoint. So I think he's done a great job of taking advantage of those competitive reps that we've had. And I'll say probably the biggest thing, too, is just, there's special teams value that he adds as far as, being on the roster and being up. It helps us in the return game. He also helps in some of those matchups with the skill players. He can play fast. Obviously he has a background in lacrosse, and so some of those kind of man-to-man or one-on-one sort of situations that come up in special teams, very similar as far as that's concerned. What he continually just tries to improve, and that's been good so far.
Insurance for Amendola, beyond the fact that he's earned the opportunity, I guess, just
yeah. I think he's really earned the opportunity, and I think for us, we're always just going to try to, put everybody out there that we think will help us, give us an opportunity to win the game. So certainly all of that ties into it, and maybe more than just from an offensive perspective, maybe overall both phases of the game, having the extra bodies that can handle some of the speed and some of the different schemes that they do. It's a very fast football team that we're playing. It's not only fast on offense, it's very fast on special teams. Those returners are. They hit top speed really fast. They do a great job of setting up the return game for those guys, and just making sure that we have those players on the field that can handle that.
And then you are in first place right now. I know it's week 3, but what do you make of that, I guess, at this point of the season?
No, we're just, none of that really matters. Just trying to go play well this weekend.
Not a talking point for a point of pride or anything?
Nope. Just go play the Chiefs.
How much different does a pass rusher have to approach this game, or playing against Kyler Murray, or some of those guys that can get out, as opposed to someone that is going to stay most of the time in the pocket? Is it different mentally facing those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's different every week, as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, and how you depends on the protection systems and how they use their backs and their tight ends. A lot of teams will use extra guys in the protection. It's not always the same traditional sort of offensive line and halfback sort of blitz pickup or protection pickup. They can mix different personnels in there and packages to be able to do that. But certainly we try to do what's appropriate for each game, to help ourselves in the pass rush, and the quarterback's a big part of it. Obviously with Mahomes, this guy kind of does everything. He can run, he can scramble, he can extend plays. He's got a strong arm. He obviously can, throw the ball across the field without looking. So I think there's just a lot of things in there from a defensive standpoint. You just have to be disciplined. It's a really kind of a disciplined game for us from that standpoint, because he does it all well.
Just follow up on that real quick. Do you have to be more creative out here, like in terms of the types of looks you're giving your defense, or who you're even using to try and mimic? I mean, you're obviously not going to replicate what he can do, but just to try and mimic some of the things he does.
Yeah, definitely. You try to break down some of the different scenarios that are going to come up in the game into different groups or units or individual periods and work on each individual aspect of it, because we don't necessarily have one person that can do all of those things really well. So try to break it down, break down the skill set, and rep those particular plays, in that kind of controlled environment. That's what we try to do the best of our ability. So whether it's when he gets out, when he runs, when he can extend plays, him being able to push the ball downfield, with the vertical pass game that comes up with it, the quarterback run game that he also has in his arsenal. You try to break those all down and emphasize them in a smaller scale, so that when you put it together in those team settings, at least you practice them in the best case scenario possible. So. If you're worried about his speed, then you make sure that for that particular look or that particular play, you have someone that has enough speed to kind of, really generate that accurate look the best that you can.
Because of the similar,
I'll come back to you.
because of similarities in your defense and New England's defense, do you maybe pay more attention to what they did in their 2 wins over Kansas City and Mahomes last year, with how they, with the fact that they maybe frustrated Mahomes a little bit?
Can, as far as teams that do things that are similar. There's probably a lot of other teams out there that I look at that do things that are similar to us too. May not be coverage concepts, it might be front concepts, either way. I think those games from last year are great to watch. It's teams in 2 different points of the season. I think by the time you get to games 18, 17 into the season, your teams have really changed. Your schemes have really changed. You're really doing things at a high level for whatever fits those particular circumstances, and that's not really where I think either current Chiefs team or our team is at right now. We're trying to just do a good job of where we're both at in September. So they're good games to watch, just like all of them are. But you can't dive too far into some of that stuff from that standpoint.
This game is for you guys to get a sense of how big it is for the fan base. If you guys win on Sunday, I got to believe you're going to have a ton of the fan base kind of excited and bought in, where maybe up to this point they're not kind of sure which way to go. They kind of get a sense of how big this is.
I think for us, it's just our next game. I mean, I think that's where you have to keep it. It's September. We're trying to go into, this week and play really well. And, for us, we just appreciate our fans in general. I think for us, we're trying to play extremely hard for our fans every single game. We're trying to do everything we can to win. I love our fans. I love the energy. I know it's going to be loud. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to be a part of that. And, for us, like we say all the time, if you love football, where would you rather be than 1 o'clock in our stadium? So that's what's great about it. That's what's awesome about it. We appreciate that. But it's just the next game for us. We got to go in, we got to grind it out, and we got to try to win. And when that's over, we're going to have to try to do the same thing for the next game. And that's really how you have to approach it, so that we can stay consistent. We don't ride the highs and the lows of the NFL season, just like you can't ride the highs and the lows of a game individual of itself, because you miss the moment, and you have to live within that moment in order to execute in that moment. If you get too far out of that, you're going to miss it.
But just a quick follow-up. In the back of your mind, I understand you're busy with everything else. There's not a thought that you say to yourself, beat these mix, nothing?
No, it's really just the same approach. Every game is tough. Every team in the NFL is great, and if you don't take that right approach every single week, look, everyone has the ability to win and to make it not look real good. So if you don't just stay consistent with it, then things tend to get out of whack as far as that's concerned. So there's going to be good games, there's going to be tough games, there's going to be not so good games, and we just got to try to improve as we go through. And other than that, that's really just our focus, is just staying consistent with it.
Matt, you have more questions? You obviously didn't have the season you wanted to last year, but you played 2 of your best games against the Patriots and the Rams. Just curious about your team's ability to play up last year to that kind of competition, and whether it gives you any kind of confidence going into a game like this.
No, I mean, last year's last year, this year's this year. For us, it's just trying to get better. I think and trying to put a lot of the pieces together to improve on some of the things that we haven't done so well so far this season. I think there's been some positives, obviously, so far what we've done, but it's not. It's certainly there's a long way to go as far as that's concerned. So our focus is just trying to improve those areas that that we recognize are not up to par, and that we know that every team out there is taking a look at, and they're going to try to exploit until we get it fixed and make sure that it's right. Those will be problems for us as the season goes. So it's not about last year. It's not about anything other than just trying to, beat Kansas City this weekend and play better.
Maybe not comparing the 2 just last year. Why do you think your team was able to play up to 2 teams like that?
We'll dive into that maybe another time and think about last year. Right now, we're just kind of focused on this week. Hey.
2 more guys?
I hope my question doesn't annoy you because it piggybacks slightly on theirs, but I had my hand raised earlier. But just
Never annoyed.
with all of the stuff that you just said,
Yeah.
could Sunday be a little bit of a measuring stick to kind of see where your team is? Just against one of the top tier teams in the NFL right now?
I mean, no, we don't really look at it that way. I don't know where anybody's going to be right now in September and where they're going to be in December or where anybody's going to be in January. Nobody knows that right now. All we know right now is that we got a really good football team coming into our house on Sunday, and we got to play well to go beat them. So that's just our focus. We don't go anything bigger or smaller than that.
Playing against such an aggressive and impressive offense, does that change your early game strategy in terms of early down or fourth downs, being more aggressive on those opportunities, even if the score doesn't necessarily dictate it?
I don't think it changes the down and distance, maybe sort of thought process as far as that's concerned. You just have to really understand what they do well, and certainly it's a very explosive team, so you have to stay consistent, and you have to just really, you have to stay aware. You have to stay alert for, the entire 60 minutes, and obviously the job they've done in the second quarter, I think, has really been very impressive as far as how they've been able to attack teams. So for us, it's just maintaining that constant focus, every single snap, so that those plays don't happen, because they are so good at it.
When you're on offense, you may be faced in a situation where you normally kick a field goal, but it's fourth and short. Would you potentially be more aggressive in an effort to maybe keep up with Kansas City?
Hard to say on a Friday. Some of that stuff is really in-game feel also, which way things are going and how it looks, how it feels as far as the style of play of the game. Sometimes the game itself has a different feel once you get into it. But certainly there's going to be nothing more important than points in this game. That'll be, one of the biggest things that we do offensively is scoring, and defensively trying to keep them out.
Would that be the same thing for two-point conversions? Because Baltimore last week was pretty open about saying that the analytics said that they should try to go for two more. Does that play into it more, or is that something you look at more early and we say, yeah, I'm going to do that?
The two-point thing is really a good conversation, because I think there's a lot of teams that explore different philosophies with that now, especially since they changed the rule and all that. There's definitely teams out there that will go for it regardless of who they're playing. It's just kind of their philosophy to go for it and go for it and go for it. I would say, for the most part, we're just trying to stay routine on the scoring schedule as far as that's concerned, and getting extra possessions become important, especially against a team that is so explosive. The possessions of the game are critical as far as that's concerned. So you want to make sure that the scoring kind of schedule stays consistent, stays normal. Good.
Thank you, Matt.
Great.